How to Create a Competitive Wedding Venue Pricing Strategy by me, Kelly Chandler, wedding venue consultant and customer experience expert. Wedding venue pricing, the big question. So, how do you price? Whether you're in the startup stages of setting up and launching your wedding venue business, or you're 20 years down the line and highly experienced in hosting weddings at your property or venue, your wedding venue pricing strategy is essential to watch, to review regularly, and to keep agile with. Why wedding venue pricing must be tied into profitability. First of all, pricing shouldn't be an arbitrary number, what you think you can get away with or what sounds good. It needs to be closely tied into a wider knowledge of your numbers and into that sustainable long term profitability. Wedding couples and the highly emotional and significant nature of such a life milestone means that couples deserve venues and wedding professionals who offer consistently excellent service and an elevated experience. And that's something that's very important to me. One size does not fit all. Here we're talking about tailored wedding venue pricing. When I consult with my private clients, we work on a personal strategy for them because their business overheads are different to the next, as well as their own business goals and expectations. I have some clients who only, inverted commas, need to cover running costs of a thirsty and expensive heritage property, with their personal income coming from other sources. I have other clients for whom this is a major venture with a wish to draw significant salaries, employ, expand teams, and achieve scale. The solutions are different for each. Understanding your wedding venue costs and overheads. Aside from renovation and those initial setup costs, knowing your ongoing fixed costs is vital. Energy, insurance, cleaning, property repairs, grounds maintenance, team staffing costs, that's including marketing, sales, event delivery, certainly add up, as an established venue knows only too well. Don't forget to allow some contingency because there will always be unknowns. Then calculating what your desired profit might be across your anticipated number of weddings annually, allowing for a sensible ramp up as success doesn't just come because you want it to, and booking timeframes and the cash flow pipeline of weddings are often long term. There is some sensible informed estimation in this always, with the fluctuations of the market, which never comes with guarantees, particularly in a post pandemic world. Purpose-built wedding venue versus heritage wedding location. There are lots of factors at play here. For example, a purpose-built venue built with strong eco-credentials and built with facilities specifically to serve the wedding venue market is likely to be far less consumptive than a venue with heritage features and considerations which affect energy and maintenance bills, as well as logistical flow and staffing quite often. Volume and scale, multi-venue groups versus independent wedding venues. Generally speaking, as in many industries, profitability can be easier to increase at scale. There is an element of economies of scale when it comes to staffing, systems and processes, and those shared costs. Exclusive use wedding groups with multi-venues can benefit from group buying power to negotiate down costs and share team resources and functions across properties. But this route is not for everyone for a variety of reasons. I serve a number of venue clients with private consultancy who have other purposes than being a pure wedding venue. They may be visitor attractions, charitable trusts, operate other commercial ventures such as a leisure market business, or they may be custodians combining living on site and opening up an ancestral family home. These clients will often have limits on number of events and scale, and so their strategies overall will be different, including, to a certain extent, how they price, the subject of this blog. Why wedding couples' needs must shape your pricing strategy. So, whilst the above working out your pricing strategy needs to work for you and factor in all of the above considerations, it certainly needs to resonate with the changing needs of the market you're serving. The wedding market is a nimble one, And couples, largely around the 30-year-old age group, are savvy customers, early adopters, and trend-led decision makers. So, what are the wedding venue pricing trends for 2026 to 2028? I will caveat this by saying that if there was one pricing strategy that worked every time, then we'd all certainly know it by now. As a consultant working with a wide range of venues, serving some quite specific niches of the wedding market, what works for one does not work for another. So knowing your own spot on client, what makes them tick, and speaking to them is absolutely key in setting and importantly in adjusting and reviewing pricing strategies. But in outline, across the mainstream wedding market, here are some important considerations. Midweek versus weekend wedding pricing. Over 1 in 3 of weddings of Gen Z couples happen between Monday and Thursday now. That data is from Bridebook 2025 UK Wedding Report. This is a trend largely driven by cost factors and value for money. It's a smart move, therefore, as a venue to develop a pricing strategy and solid resourcing to back this need up that allows you to serve this market and to see a midweek wedding as every bit as special as a weekend one and just as welcome in your setting. The days of weddings just happening on Saturdays are long gone, with couples often savvy to reduce rates and willing to use a midweek offer, particularly during school holidays, which is especially beneficial to teachers and those in the education system, or those who may already have children or have a large number of children they're planning to invite to the wedding. Seasonal wedding venue pricing. Most venues operating at scale will adjust pricing seasonally. This should be closely monitored and tailored to your ideal market. Taking what another venue does doesn't necessarily mean it's the best for you. For example, venues in the north of England are far more likely to have a later start to what we see as summer. So, for example, venues in the south will likely put May into peak, but by the time you get to Scotland, peak month will start in June. And seasonality needs to be reviewed regularly and not fixed forever. The previous year's weather in a particular month can really affect future bookings. For example, if we have a mild and sunny October, this will often mean the next 2 Octobers will be more popular than they might have been before. Of course, it can also work the other way round. Flexible pricing for modern couples. The customer is changing. Generation Z are now accounting for 12% of wedding couples and growing monthly. That data is taken from Splendid Insights 2026 Global Wedding Market Report. They are much more flexible on when their wedding takes place, seasonally as well as on the day of the week, and are willing to move it to suit other things they want to achieve in life. A wedding is a nice-to life goal rather than a must-do rite of passage. And this is quite a different sentiment than for previous generations. Creating choice and appealing options at a range of price points and packages is generally a good move to suit differing priorities. Transparent wedding venue pricing expectations. One thing Gen Z are not flexible on is that they demand clarity and transparent pricing right from the get-go. And this isn't just Gen Z, this is many customers in the current times. If your pricing is not available immediately on your website or to download, then 40% of couples will not inquire. They will move on and they will look elsewhere. That data is taken from WedPro UK Wedding Industry Report. Clarity is key. Not only do couples want pricing easily, but they want to clearly know what they are getting for what price. Be very careful of add-ons, hidden costs and extras essential to making their wedding actually happen. These need to be spelt out and very clear from the start to win hearts and minds of couples, whether your venue dry hire only, sole or in-house catering package, or work with approved caterers. There's a lot to unpack on this particular subject too, with regards to the presentation of pricing, something I work regularly with my private clients on when we look at their pricing strategy. Wedding venue pricing mistakes to avoid. With over 23 years sourcing wedding venues and 11 years as a dedicated wedding venue business consultant, there are a lot of mistakes I see crop up time and again. A few pointers to be aware of are shared here. Do your homework on your real costs. In particular, I see it often that newer venues will vastly underprice and only realize when they are actually running weddings and incurring costs that they haven't budgeted for, that the pricing they are offering is not sustainable. Whilst growing pains are inevitable in every business, spend valuable time researching, learning, and really understanding your costs. Often there is light repair work needed between weddings, particularly for outdoor events. Weather can wreak havoc and involve setting up things like trackway, for example. New wedding venues will often vastly underestimate how much handholding and time an inexperienced couple will need during their planning. Committing to your pricing. Be very aware that you're committing to pricing sometimes 1 to 2 years out. And once that date is booked and a contract signed, then you're committing to that venue higher price and potentially other prices too. Be aware that couples now want reassurances on their food and beverage pricing too. Never easy for a business to future predict in very fluctuating times, but couples want as much surety as possible in a competitive market. So work out a way to fill them with confidence and security whilst protecting your future profit margins as much as you can. If you need expert support with your wedding venue pricing, pricing is a vital area to keep nimble with. You might like to consider a fresh eyes audit if you think you would benefit from an external experience perspective on your venue value and pricing strategy. This is very much an area I cover as part of both my Fresh Eyes audit and Fresh Eyes Snapshot private consultancy services that you can find in the website kelly-chandler.com. And if getting the perspective of a dozen non-competitive fellow venue owners and leaders appeals to you, then I run my Wedding Venue Leaders Collective twice per year in spring and autumn, where the latest on pricing strategy is almost always on the agenda amongst the dozen leaders present.